ओम सर्वधर्मस्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. We are studying here Sri Ramakrishna the Great Master, fifth part, the Master in Divine Mood and Narendranath. And today we are to start the third section of the 12th chapter. Name being the Master stay at Shampukur. And in the first two sections we have seen that on medical advice they brought him to Shampukur, nearer to the doctor's house and nearer to the devotees' houses. And there, for cooking and feeding him, they brought Sarada Devi, and we have seen her character in that portion. And small boys, young boys, with the leadership of Narendranath, to serve the Master day and night also. 4 of them started there, and then they became 4 times when they went to Kashipur. And householder devotees, none of them was rich, but all of them were determined to spend their last 5 or even borrow for the sake of the Master. And we saw that Sri Ramakrishna used to manifest special, extraordinary, special spiritual consciousness and power from time to time during those days, and that kept up the spirit of the householders and others. And in that respect, we have seen the Durga Puja, we have also seen the Kali Puja, and later on we have seen how he helped Balram to get rid of the obstructions. Now we come to the third section. The Master saw sores in his body. They were caused by his taking on himself the burden of other sins. Its result. Its result means result of seeing this. So Master directly saw that because he takes up sins of others, so this throat wound has come. And he saw that his subtle body affected with that. While he was staying at Shampukur, one day the Master had a wonderful vision. He saw that his subtle body came out of his gross body as he was strolling hither and thither in the room, and he observed that its back was covered with sores, especially in the region of the throat. Back in the region of the throat. He wondered at the cause of such sores. When the Divine Mother of the Universe explained to him, that is the real nature, that people had committed various evil deeds and had become pure by touching him. The burden of their sins was thus transferred to him, and consequently he had sores in his body. Now this one suffers for one's own deeds. This rule is there, but its modifications are there in the case of avatar. That avatar can take upon himself others' sins, and so they will be free. So that we see here. We had heard the master say sometimes at Dakshineshwar that he was not afraid to be born lakhs of times to do good to living beings. Because that is his work. What else the avatar has to do? What else the God, the protector of the universe has to do? So he's reading. It was therefore no wonder that he should joyfully speak of it to us without being at all affected by it. That I saw these swords and all that, he joyfully expressed to us. Because that is his work. As is some people pointed out to Holy Mother, why you are suffering. She said, we did not come only to eat rasgullas. We are charmed to remember and discuss his infinite grace. But the devotees, especially the younger ones, took particular care to see that no newcomer should bow down to him and touch his feet till he regained his former health. They thought he will regain his former health, and the old devotees have already touched him, but the new devotees should not touch him. And some of the devotees again thought of their unrestrained early lives and determined that they would not anymore touch the holy person of the master. They would not touch him, not hear the feet. But some rare persons like Narendra engage themselves in the inquiry and research into the matter when they got this clue to the truth of the doctrine that one could voluntarily take upon oneself the results of actions done by another. A doctrine which is fundamental to the Christian, Vaishnava and some other faiths. So Narendra went into the analysis of that doctrine with the help of Thakur's example. Now you should know that this extends to Avatara's disciples also, Leela Sacharas also. We know one incident very graphically, that there was an actress, Tara Sundari. She was blessed by Brahman Swami. But when she came as a result of that to Belur Math, Brahman Swami had left his body and Mahapuruji was the president. And she was standing at the door. Mahapurush Maharaj asked his sevak, go and find out somebody has come and bring her here. When she came, Mahapuruji said, I will initiate you. You take this water and put it on my feet, telling that all the sins which I have done in past lives and this life I am offering to you. And we know for 10 months he was paralysis. So he had not done any bad thing in this life. So this is what happens. In Christianity, it has come into a caricature. And they call it apostolic succession. So you go and confess before the superior and your sins are. And that has led to horrible practices. Because the nuns also have to go to the men superior. So Naren started analyzing this. Christian, Vaishnava and some other faiths. Some others have very peculiar beliefs. once in Durga Puja time, somebody came and bit Mahapurush Maharaj's thumb. Bit. And then Mahapuruji, with a stick in his hand or something, was driving him out, go out of the mud campus. So some new devotees did not know what had happened, and he saw Mahapuruji in that angry mood. When next time he came, Mahapuruji told that some such thing had happened. You had seen that. So, peculiar things.
He thought that
he will take power from Mahapuruji and put his sins into Mahapuruji. Now, so far as apostolic succession is concerned, you know about Ramakrishna Mission? When we were in the training center, and first year giving farewell to second year, that farewell function. In our batch, I had a friend, a surgeon, Malaysian Tamilian, Vijay Maharaj. He has passed away recently. He was the head of the Trivandrum Center. Now he told in the meeting that our president should always wear socks. Nobody should be allowed to touch their feet directly. And since then, this practice has come into the mission.
Okay. During Diksha time only they offer. During Diksha time only, Diksha, initiation time only, they touch the feet. Otherwise, there is not practice.
That I don't know. But every day they go, now from distance we do, but even then the sock should be there. So touch to the feet will not be there. Anyway. And this has happened because the feet used to burn. Abhedan Swamiji complained to Mahapurush Maharaj that my feet are burning. Mahapurush Maharaj said, good, that it has not gone up the personality to at the feet. And Mother, we know, continuously washing her feet with Ganges water. She never said, don't allow that. The devotees laid down restrictions with regard to newcomers. Girish Chandra observed the attempt at preventing newcomers from visiting the master and said, there is no harm trying, but it is not possible. For that is the very purpose of the master's advent. So Girish never believed in this. He will take sin and everything and then everything will come all right. Although perfect strangers could be prevented, the newcomers known to the devotees, it was afterwards seen, could not be so. So it was settled that no one unknown to any devotee should be allowed to approach the master. And those who were known should be told beforehand not to bow down to him and touch his feet. The violation of this rule too was allowed from time to time when some perfect strangers were seen to have very great eagerness. So everything has exception. Nothing could be absolutely followed. An actress saw the master with the help of Kalipada, famous Nati Vinodini. This Kalipada is Girish's friend and of the same opinion. Nothing bad will happen like that, he used to think. There took place a funny incident with regard to that rule. While the master was at Dakshineshwar, on one occasion, he went to witness a certain religious drama staged in the theatre managed by Girish Chandra and praised the actress who acted the leading part. The actress had the good fortune to worship the feet of the master while he was in an ecstatic mood at the end of the play. Since then, she looked upon him as God himself and adored him accordingly. She was seeking an opportunity of seeing him again. She became now eager, very eager, to see the master once more. When she heard of his serious illness, as she was acquainted with Kalipada Ghosh, she entreated him importunately and placed her entire reliance on him in that respect. Kalipada was a follower of Girish in all matters and did not believe that the master's illness would increase if an evildoer becomes repentant and touched his holy feet. So it is not forcing them becoming repentant. That means they will not do further. As Kalipada was convinced that the master was the incarnation of the age, he therefore had no fear or hesitation in taking that actress to the master. He took counsel secretly and one day dressing her like an European gentleman, as young Bengal used to then. Bengali young boys used to dress like European gentlemen. Like that he dressed her. Came with her at dusk to the Shampookur house, dusk, where the master was staying. He introduced her to us as a friend of his. Took her to the master and told him who she really was. None of us was in the master's room at that time, and Kalipada had therefore no obstacle to overcome. Knowing the actress had come to in that dress to throw dust in our lives, the master, fond of merriment, laughed. Pleased with her faith and devotion, he praised her courage, strategy, and reverence. Shraddha. He gave her a little spiritual instruction that she might have faith in and reliance on God, and bade goodbye to her soon afterwards. So that is what he taught. She shed tears of joy and repentance, both, touched adoringly his holy feet with her head, and went away with Kalipada. We came to know of this afterwards from the master, and seeing that he was joking, smiling, and expressing joy on account of the trick played on us, we could not be cross with Kalipada. Master managed that they should not be cross with Kalipada. The cause of the next point, this is one point. The cause of the increase of sentimentalism amongst the devotees. This happened very much during Shampoo. And only Swami Vivekananda corrected it. That is now throughout this section we will have that only. Although the faith and devotion in the hearts of the devotees increased by leaps and bounds, owing to the master's company and the services they rendered to him due to two reasons, master's company and seva. There arose now a possibility of their minds running along a path which was not only full of dangers, but led in a direction opposite to that of spirituality. It appears as spiritual, but it is opposite. The temporary surging of emotions now became dearer to them, the disciples, than austere renunciation and difficult self-control. So evidently, austere renunciation and self-control are much more important than the surging of emotion, temporary surging of emotion. But they took it otherwise. The devotees could not understand. All this is due to Adnan. That such sentimentalism, sweet as it was, could not impart to them the power of winning victory over lust, anger, and hosts of the other enemies of man. Kama, Krodh, Shadripu. They cannot be conquered with sentimentalism.
Devotees meaning lay devotees. Lay devotees.
All. Swamiji could save the boy devotees. If it did not rise from the depth of renunciation and self-control, that sentiment also is allowed. If it rises from depth of renunciation and self, so it should be based upon this. Because emotion and feeling, they are similar things. And if it is based upon self-control, then it is spiritual feeling. Otherwise, it is emotion. Sentimentalism. There were several causes that produced this sentimentalism. What is the Bengali for sentimentalism? Bhavukata. That's right. Bhavukata can be translated as emotionalism or bhavochhal, emotional outburst, outside issue. The first of the causes was the ordinary human trait of having recourse to easy paths and objects. Human tendency. If an object is easy, what it means? सुख साध्य पद और विषय के अवलंबन पर object. Here Vishay is like a subject, not object. Topic. Easier things. Easy paths and things. While man practices religion, he wants to conduct his life in such a way as will enable him to hold on both to God and to the world, to enjoyment and to renunciation. That has been the trait throughout history. A few rare fortunate persons only regard them as of contrary natures, Shreya and prayer, the light and darkness, and do not fall into such errors. So it is very rare that people try to be genuinely spiritual. They understand that these two cannot be harmonized without the risk of compromising the ideal of renouncing one's all for God realization. So, if the prayer comes in the garb of Shreya, you cannot follow that and we go astray. So, if you try to combine Shreya and prayer wins and Shreya goes away. If you want to follow Shreya, prayer has to be totally renounced. So that is the only spiritual way. Unless you will do it gradually, but unless the world is totally given up, you cannot go to God. No question of whether you are a sannyasi or grahastha or anything. Those who want to achieve the impossible feat of keeping close to both the shores take out their life's boat just a little away from the shore of the world, resolutely discard all thought of further journey and lie at anchor there forever. They take out the boat, but put anchor and lie in the boat. They cannot proceed. In Christian terms, you cannot serve God and mammon together. The master therefore tested variously everybody as soon as he came to him and ascertained whether he lay thus at a safe anchor or not. If he knew that he was doing so, he would reveal to him as little of the ideal of renunciation for the sake of God as he could accept, as he did with the Brahmas. This was the reason why his teachings differed from different persons according to their fitness. He gave different kinds of instruction to his devotees with families and to young disciples. Because they cannot totally give it up. That was the reason why, while he gave instruction to people in general, he said that devotion as expounded by Narada and the singing of the name of Hari were alone efficacious in the Kali Yuga. So every instruction is directed to a particular level of individual. And people think this to be universal. So, Naradiya Bhakti is different from this because and is used. In Bengali, the order is reversed. Kalite keval matra Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan or Naradiya Bhakti. And we understand that this Naradiya Bhakti is not what we know that Narad Bhakti Sutras, I told already. Bhajanan Swami says it is Narad Pancharatra from that is taken. That also chorus, singing and all that. The study of religion and the scriptures became so obsolete, you understand? Obsolete means old, not of use. Among the people at that time, that was doubtful whether 1 in 100 understood the meaning of the phrase devotion as expounded by Narada. So himself has straightway said this.
1 in 100.
So Saradananda Swamiji is referring to Narad Bhakti Sutras, not to Narad Pancharatra. People did not know that the renunciation of one's all out of love for God also had been taught by Narada. It was therefore no wonder, so people did not know they heard Naradiya Bhakti. It was therefore no wonder that prompted by their weak nature, the ignorant devotees of the Master would sometimes fall into the error of clinging to both the lives, the worldly and the spiritual, and of regarding the increase of sentimentalism as the akim of religious experience. नहीं तो भाव वृद्धि होवे शेतिर spirituality. That is very dangerous. Again, this is the first cause, man's natural tendencies and wrong understanding due to that. Again, another cause leading the devotees to that error probably was that they did not see the very firm basis on which that extraordinary emotionalism of the Master was established. Emotionalism, bhavukata. But Thakur's bhavukata was based upon extreme renunciation that they had not seen. For his austere self-control and penances had been practiced long before they went to him. So second cause. But the greatest of its causes presented itself when Girish Chandra gave his spiritual power of attorney to the Master and fully convinced that the Master was the incarnation of the age, was preaching it at the top of his voice to one and all with great joy and enthusiasm. Although many had that idea regarding the Master, all of them obeyed his ban on revealing it. For the Master had been warning them for a long time to regard that as the time for his passing away, when many people would come to know him as an incarnation of God. So they were keeping it in control. But Girish Chandra's mind was made of a different stuff. So an important point, he disobeyed his Guru out of faith in him.
Oh.
A similar thing in Nivedita's case. Swamiji told her two things repeatedly. Don't join politics and don't mix with the Thakur family, that Rabindranath Thakur family. And she said, she has written, he might have said that, but I feel that inside is prompting me to do that. Now what can you do? So this is Girish in respect to Thakur. He could never in his life conceal any thought or action of his good or bad. He therefore could not obey that interdict of the master. He forgot the fact that his keen intelligence, his life full of various events, and his heart surcharged with infinite zeal and faith enabled him to understand the unlimited influences of the master's extraordinary power and helped him to surrender himself to him completely. So everybody is not like him. He could surrender completely, others will in the mouth only. So he invited one and all, quite indiscriminately, to do what he himself had done. Man generally judges others from himself, neglecting therefore the necessity of personal effort, devotional exercises, renunciation, austerity, etc. So these are the foundations of spirituality. Devotional exercises, personal effort, renunciation, austerity, etc. And uttering the cheap shibboleths, we are given him the power of attorney. What is shibboleth?
Some phrase.
No, this particular word is not there, that they, instead of doing effort, they started talking with it.
Oh, not from us. Oh. But सिर्फ मुख है, सिर्फ मुख में है और
Uttering the cheap words, you must say, we have given him the power of attorney, we have surrendered ourselves to him, and so on. People came to regard the realization of God as easy of attainment. Actually, that is, by reading Kathamrit, everybody feels that it is very easy to realize God.
Everybody is together.
Thakur, and many people say, Thakur has made it easy. The work done is same, easy in appearance. I'll give an example for this. Firstly, when we dug wells, people used to draw water like this. That used to put very strain on the stomach. Then they discovered the wheel, and we draw like this. Now the science proves that the work done is same, exactly same. The method of doing it is gradual. Method of doing this was difficult. But work done is same.
Yes.
So people think this is easy. You weep for 3 days, weep for 24 hours, We forget after 10 minutes that we are weeping and why we are weeping. But Thakur had a purpose in that. That attracts people to religion.
But Thakur said gradually cannot be done. You have to do it. This is what gradually, slowly.
No, that Chaitanya thing is there, you know that. Magur Machar Jol, Yuti Mer Kol Bol River. So you'll get a special type of fish curry and a young woman's lap and Bol River. That fish curry is the tears and Yuti May is earth. You fall down. So attracting people to religion. Girish Chandra's infinite love for the master could have prevented his preaching it. He's telling within Girish now. Had not his intelligence told him that he who had assumed, intelligence is buddhi here. It is foolishness actually. Told him that he who had assumed a body to arrest the decline of religion prevalent for a long time and to set the wheel of religion moving anew, and who was undergoing voluntarily the miseries of birth, old age, etc., in order that the jiva suffering from all the three miseries, that is, you know that. Adhyatmik Adhibodhik Adhidevi, pertaining to one's own body and mind, external nature and supernatural, might find a refuge in him, could not possibly pass away before his desired work was completed. So he will not die out of this. He will complete the work, then he will go away by his own will. In churches outside, in big letters it is written, Christ saying, those who are heavy laden, come unto me, I will give you rest. He was therefore not to blame if he invited people to take refuge in the Master and to have peace and divine bliss like himself. That is his thought.
And he should not be blamed also.
Ramchandra followed in Girisha's footsteps and tried to outdo him. The intelligence of many elderly devotees like Ramachandra, here we could have used the word mind only. Because foolishness is counted as intelligence. Because of buddhi, but that is mind actually. Heart and mind, that is the difference here. Heart could have checked it, but the mind said like that. Intelligence is poor word here. Like Ramchandra was then overpowered by the keen intelligence and argumentation of Girish Chandra. Girish could argue very nicely, Ram could not. Ramchandra, we have said before, was born in a Vaishnava family. It was therefore no wonder that he should truly take the master to be Sri Krishna and Sri Gauranga. Gauranga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But he had observed a certain amount of restraint regarding the matter before Girish preached his ideas about the master, which served like adding fuel to the fire of his zeal. So till then, obeying the master was controlling. But Girish is doing, so he started. He did not, however, stop with merely, he introduced certain sick bad things. He did not have, that Girish had not done. He did not, however, stop with merely preaching that the Master was an incarnation of God, but indulged in speculation, because there is no reasoning for that. As to the identities of particular devotees of the Master in his previous incarnations as Gauranga and Krishna, Master only has said, I have seen him in that group, I have seen him in that group. And those it is needless to add another thing, who experience bodily changes and sometimes lost normal consciousness on account of temporary surges of sentimentalism, occupied a high spiritual rank in his judgment. Bodily changes, vikar. Vijay Krishna Goswami fanned the flame. Third element.
Girish just preaching.
Ramchandra added certain things. While the devotees allowed, behind Vijay Krishna Goswami is Thakur's own power. While the devotees allowed themselves to be carried off by the current of sentimentalism, thanks to their firm conviction that the Master was the incarnation of the age, Vijay Krishna Goswami came from Dhaka to see the Master and declared before all, without any reserve, how at the time of meditation in his room at Dhaka, the Master had appeared there physically before him, and how Vijay touched his body and limbs. This acted like a high wind fanning a wildfire. 5 or 6 of the devotees then used to undergo bodily changes and to lose partial consciousnesses as soon as they listened to devotional music, etc. They gave up the royal road of common sense and reason and discrimination between the real and the unreal, and were getting themselves habituated to the morbid attitude. Morbid means disease, sick. To the morbid attitude that anything might be brought at any time by virtue of the divine power of the Master, and were living on the tiptoe of such expectations. From Master we can get anything.
Very clearly, it is the royal road of common sense, reason, and discrimination. 3 things they have.
Narendra's efforts to check it and increase renunciation, self-control, etc. amongst the devotees, why the Master did not try to do so. So, a new element Sarada Samaj introduced, that Thakur is passing his powers to Narendra now. He is observing what Narendra is doing. And also that genuine feeling is there, then it's all right. When this unhealthy sentimentalism was being regarded by the devotees as the akim of religious life, it could not escape the notice of the sharp-witted Narendranath, to whom here Narendra and Girish differ, to whom the Master always gave the highest place among the devotees, that this kind of mind was as good as useless. Compared with renunciation, self-control, single-minded devotion, etc. Single-minded devotion, not sentimentalism. And that there was a possibility of great danger in future if it were given a free rein. Narendra tried to explain it to them and save the situation. The question may arise, why was the Master indifferent even though he saw the possibility of the devotees going astray? It may be said in reply that he was not so. Not indifferent. He was not indifferent. But knowing that genuine emotion, freed of all artificiality, was one of the paths leading to the realization of God, emotion, feeling. He was seeking a favorable occasion to guide them. That was Thakurti. Observe and tell at the right point. On that path, by observing who among those devotees were actually fit for it, fit for that path. For we heard him say time and again, nothing comes about but at the proper time, however much we may wish for it. Time is a process going on. Success has its own time. Everything awaits the right time. Again, who knows? That is the second thing. Again, who knows that he was not observing Narendra in his crusade against that error of the devotees and was waiting for the result of his effort. See how Narendra succeeds, then I will add. Or it might be that it was his intention to make Narendranath the instrument in the matter and have the corrective administered through him. In that he has made two divisions. See what Narendra thinks effect is, then I will do. Or he has put it to Narendra. Sentimentalism is of little value as it does not produce a permanent change in life. That is the one thing. Even poets imagine so many things, but that does not change their life. Thinking that the circle of young devotees possessed of firm bodies and determined minds could easily understand these words, so he started from there. Narendra adduced reasons and arguments against this growing tide of sentimentalism. He said, the sentimentalism that does not produce a permanent change in human life, but makes man eager to realize God at one moment, but at the very next has little power to make him desist from seeking lust and God, has no depth, and is therefore of little value in life. If it does not take it away from lust and God. Though under its influence some might shed tears and experience horripilation and other bodily changes, or even a temporary withdrawal of normal consciousness, it is, I am perfectly convinced, produced by nervous weakness.
So confident.
Now you see Arjuna's Kripaya Parayavishta, Bhagavan says it is weakness. And in the Ramakrishna mission that has become common. People come and say, I see this, I see it. Monks tell, eat nice things. A man should by all means eat nutritious food here and take the help of a physician if he cannot suppress it through the exercise of his willpower. So even these mental things could be, with doctor's medicine, could be suppressed. There is very often artificiality in tears, horripilation and other bodily changes. Narendra added, there is much of artificiality in those bodily changes and absence of normal consciousness. As our control over ourselves grows firmer, our real, genuine sentiments go deeper. Yes, if you try to control, then they are not destroyed. That goes deeper. Magma says, Jatoi thakbe gupta tatoi hobe shakta. Gupta. It is in the lives of very rare Gupta, Pukta. Okay. It is in the lives of mature. Pukta is mature. It is in the lives of very rare persons that spiritual sentiments become so powerful as to assume the form of tidal waves, overflowing even the firm dam of control. So Thakur Singh is so much control over that the feeling has come. And manifest themselves as bodily changes and temporary cessation of normal consciousness. Foolish men cannot understand this and reverse the process. The depth of spiritual sentiment they think is attained as the result of those bodily changes. Ulta. Bodily changes will affect the spiritual emotion. They think is attained as the result of those bodily changes and that loss of normal consciousness and of normal consciousness. They therefore make efforts that those effects might soon happen to them. That will and effort of theirs develop gradually into a habit. And weaken their nerves increasingly as days pass on, so that in course of time, those changes come on them at the slightest appearance of a sentiment. Consequently, they become insane or afflicted with a chronic malady by indulging freely in them. In trying to practice religion, 80% of people turn cheats, artificially showing, and about 15% mad. They lose themselves. The remaining 5 only attain the immediate knowledge of the infinite truth and are blessed. Hence, beware. मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु यतते सिद्धे and yatataamapi siddhanam kaschit mam vidyate. That requires proper guidance, and Thakur is doing through Narendra. But sadhana Swami is showing the practical result. Narendra's words carried weight when the behavior of certain devotees was noticed. So this was seen. We could not at first take those words of Narendra to be true, because again the general thing going on. But we had to do so when shortly afterwards it was revealed by chance that one devotee sat in seclusion singing verses that gave rise to such sentiments, deliberately trying to induce corresponding bodily changes in himself, one devotee. That another had practiced earlier that kind of charming dance which a particular devotee had been seen to perform. Somebody automatically performs and somebody has practiced it, imitated. At the time of the partial withdrawal of normal consciousness during trance, and that a third person, so second person seeing somebody genuine imitated, and that a third person soon after seeing the beautiful dance of the second person, started dancing similarly in trance. So it is like a contagious disease spreading. Again, observing that a devotee had trances more frequently than before, Narendra convinced him in private of his folly and requested him to practice the control of sentiments and eat comparatively nutritious food. And as a result of doing so for a fortnight, he acquired health and self-control to a great. So the solution also was seen by them. When many saw these facts demonstrated before their very eyes, they had to believe in Narendra's words and no longer regarded themselves unfortunate because they did not have bodily changes and cessation of normal consciousness like the other devotees. Narendra ridiculed sentimentalism, that another method, and made fun of it. Demons and women friends. So he categorized as Danas and Sakhi. Narendra did not stop with preaching this with the help of reason and arguments only. But when he scented the slightest artificiality in anybody's sentimentalism, he ridiculed and made merry over it in the presence of all. That is what makes them shame. And the devotees felt embarrassed and humiliated. Again, because he would go on taunting. Again, he would raise the topic of man's imitating the gestures of women as was prevalent in the practice of sadhana of the class of Vaishnavas, Madhurva, Sagiva, etc., and the extremely ridiculous form which it sometimes assumed. Because man is not able to do that. He thus roused a peal of laughter among the devotees and helped to ridicule those of us who were inclined to that kind of sentimentalism, saying that they belong to the class of women friends of the Lord, Sakhi. In fact, Narendranath, a lion among men, could not at all put up with the idea that because a man had come forward to practice religion, he should give up his vitality, virility, virya, self-exertion, and his indomitable search after truth, and should instead confine himself to imitating the gestures of women, to the singing of Vaishnava lyrics, and to weeping. He therefore serio-comically called those devotees Shiva's demons, who took to the virile form of sadhana and had devotion tempered by the discrimination. So devotion should be there, but it should be tempered by discrimination. Discrimination between the real and the unreal, nicknaming those of the opposite nature as women friends of the Lord. His efforts to establish true renunciation and love for God in place of sentimentalism. We read this tomorrow. Om Sarvadharma Sthapakasvam Sarvadharma Swarupakah Acharyanam Mahacharyo Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Jaya